Hello and welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. It is Tuesday. I'm your host Declan McConville. As per usual, the original lineup's back. I'm joined by Patrick McGilp, Lawrence Connolly. Today's 62 years since floodlights were first used at Celtic Park, so hopefully we'll bring a bit of light into your day, gents. How are we?
But they're doing well, but it's more than 62 years. That's 62 years since the Drencher light system against Wolves. But Celtic tried them in the 1890s when they strung floodlights across the pitch. Had to do away with it after a few games because the ball kept hitting the wires. But you know, just a bit of trivia, mate. Drencher light system was in the for the Wolves game, wasn't it?
Modern technology, and our good friend John Fallon played in that game in goals. A man for many distinctive games, that being one of the first that he played in. And that takes us on. He played for Motherwell as well towards his end of career, so that takes us right on to the game on Saturday.
And he turned up at JT90.
There you go. And he turned up at JT90.
To see us off at Celtic Park, and he turned up at the graveside to lay one of the wreaths. Good man, John. It's good to see he's got rid of his stick now.
Yep, a Celtic legend and a Celtic great, Lisbon Lion. Yes. So, Motherwell, Saturday. As you can see, I've still got my Scotland jersey on. Scotland play tonight away in the Faroe Islands. Big game after Saturday's result. But we're looking forward to Celtic Motherwell on Saturday because the international break after this is nearly over, obviously. On Saturday we got to watch near Beaton, Callum McGregor play in that match. A few former Celts as well involved in that Scotland setup, of course. Abada not playing for Israel. But this top kind of synonymous with 1967 and a few Celts played in that game. But we'll get on to Scotland and Celtic later on. Firstly, Motherwell on Saturday. Patrick, what's your thoughts leading up to this? We've obviously got a good, people are saying, whether Aberdeen, the result of Pittodrie will be the springboard. Do you think that will be the springboard? And do you expect us to go here and get a result and a win on Saturday?
I'm hoping so. I'm definitely hoping so. Definitely think it's possible as well. I think if we come out the international break with no injuries, for the first time in what feels like years, we'll be in a very, very good place because we're getting to that stage now where all the people that were out with injuries about a month ago, they're now coming back. Hopefully that means we can start hitting form again. Motherwell have started the season well, but we've got a fairly decent record at Fir Park, so I'm hoping and expecting another victory of any kind. Hopefully more comfortable than Aberdeen.
Yeah, hopefully more comfortable than Aberdeen. Lawrence, what's your thoughts going into this game on Saturday? It's a tough place to go. We've played well there past couple of seasons, but it has been a place that we've struggled at before in the past.
Yeah, lost the league there in the past as well, haven't we? Final day. I think Patrick's hit the nail on the head. It's about getting our guys back. That arguably been without 5 first-team starters. Motherwell's going to have had almost 2 weeks off. We've got guys coming back and guys that have been played in international. So you'd want to kick on from the Aberdeen result and hopefully get close to our best team in the park for maybe the first time this season. Kyogo, he's away with Japan. Hopefully, he's back fit and leading the line again. Would maybe hopefully at some point in this game see Giamakis. I think everybody's desperate to see what the new striker's like. He's been in it a while, came unfit, got injured in warm-up, and it's been a bit of stop for him, hasn't it, his career so far? So it'd be good to see if we could get him, 10, 20 minutes with a 3 or 4-0 up, get Kyogo off protected and get him up front, see what he can give us. Be interesting to see what we're going to do with the full-back positions, who's going to be fit and who claims the berths. I know it seems like Tony Ralston's miles away from the Scotland squad. He was told he had to hold his Celtic place. He done that. Still didn't get him in the squad. But, is it Juranovic? Is it Tony? And who's going to come in at left back for us, Montgomery or Scales?
3 or 4-0 up seems good to me. I'd be very happy if we do go there and we're in that position. We can fire on Giacomakis. Patrick, how do you think Ange approaches this in terms of keeping that consistency? Because he will have been working with a lot of guys that haven't went international due to this week at Lennoxtown. There's guys in there that, might have needed that wee bit of extra work in terms of man management, which I think Ange is, fairly good at from what we've read, especially David Turnbull's comments a few weeks ago. How do you keep that consistency? Because a lot of the guys won't return to training until, Wednesday, Thursday. There won't be a lot of work done with those guys. So how do you keep that balance from what you've worked on in the training ground with the guys that have been left behind to then add in, a lot of your first team regulars that come back from international duty?
I think part of that could even be part of international duty. If a bunch of the Scotland guys come off the back of another massive victory, that'll lift their spirits. And for guys like Callum McGregor, that could work in our benefit if they're coming off the back of a massive period in Scotland's qualifying campaign. I think for the majority of our season, we only really get 1 or 2 training sessions between games. So I think Ange will probably be quite used to that by now. But he'll have had an in-depth period of time to work with the guys who haven't left. Guys probably like Joe Hart and Chris Julian will be probably close to be coming back now as well. Anthony Ralston, people like them. But I think he'll approach it the same way he approaches every game. He's not going to sacrifice his philosophy for anybody or anything. Fair play to him because it's been working the majority of the time domestically. Those 2 6-0 victories, 3-0 against Ross County, aye. So I'd expect him to approach it the same way. Just all out, outscore the opposition. Intense for the full 90 minutes and just don't stop, as that wee famous clip said.
Yeah, don't stop. Lawrence, what do you think on that? How does he keep that consistency going? What does he take from the game at Aberdeen that he maybe brings into this game? Is it, do you stick with Beaton in midfield? Do you look at a different approach in terms of, I know Patrick spoke about Ange's philosophy there, it's very clear to see, but, is there going to be a change in approach from Ange going into this from what he's maybe taken from the Aberdeen game? Because for a lot of the time and periods of the game, it wasn't very comfortable for us, but we get the win.
Well, I hope he doesn't go back to Rogic and Turnbull as 2 of the midfielders. So whether it's Beaton or whether McCarthy's fit, whoever wants to play as the defensive midfielder, hopefully push McGregor further forward. It might be Beaton, McCarthy, McGregor. I don't know, but as long as it's not kind of reverting back to Turnbull and Rogic, I think we've seen enough to say, look, for whatever reason, that's just not clicking properly for us. Especially, when we lose the ball, they don't track back enough. I don't think they don't give us enough. So if he learns that from Aberdeen, happy days. And if he learns winning on the road, happy days. First 45 against Aberdeen, well, first 40 minutes anyway, it's fairly comfortable. Second half, Aberdeen came more into it. Aided and abetted by our play being broken up by a lot of free kicks given against us. But, hopefully we can stop giving away silly free kicks and get a bit more fluency to our game and a bit more intensity, because that number of free kicks just kills any intensity or fluency that you're trying to build.
Yeah, when you're talking about fouls, Patrick, a player that I know gets in your nerves quite a lot is near Beaton. He came into the game at Pittodrie and did fairly okay. Second half, kind of returned to his old ways. Obviously, you watched him for 96 minutes on Saturday. That Hampden playing, in a very different position to what he would play for Celtic. Do you see him being the man, the anchor man, as the number 6 in midfield going forward here for this next batch of games? Because unless McCarthy or Sorrow, step up their game, it looks as if it might be him in that position.
I'm not really sure, to be honest, because I think when you're talking about Beaton and Sorrow, they both give away so many daft fouls. And then McCarthy, quite clearly, I don't know if he's not good enough or not up to speed yet. I think he's probably still unfit, to be honest. But when it comes to Beaton or Sorrow, they both give away so many daft fouls. But with Beaton, he takes it up a level. He likes to get sent off as well. He likes to poke people in the eye and rugby tackle strikers, So, that's, in fairness, that's when he's playing at the back. So, maybe if he's played as a defensive midfielder, he'll get back to that form that he found under Ronnie Dyler when people were comparing him to Sergio Busquets, of all people. So I think as long as we're deploying him in the midfield, he'll probably play a wee bit better. But I'm not sure long term if he's the answer going forward. As astonishing as it is, I'd probably like us to bring in a defensive midfielder in January, because I think we've got 4 if you include Liam Shaw, and none of them appear to be good enough. So I could see Beaton playing. I could see Beaton having a good game as well, actually. And, if Celtic win, that's all that matters.
Yeah, Lawrence, these are games that maybe suit Neil Beaton, but I know you're a big fan of James McCarthy. Do you think that this week and getting that wee bit extra, more training in and working with the manager might just bring him up to the level that we need? Because I watched his counterpart that he came from Hamilton with, James McArthur, playing for Crystal Palace against Leicester, and I thought he was excellent in that game. Do you think there's still a lot more to come from James McCarthy in a Celtic jersey?
There's got to be. We've not had a lot. What is it? 1 assist so far. So an extra 2 weeks to get his fitness up and understand the game that Ange wants him to play. He's got to be close, hasn't he? He's got the pedigree. He's dynamic and he can change position. He can also play attacking midfielder as well as defensive midfielder, McCarthy. So it's something handy to have on the part, something that can interchange. It's like Callum can play attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder. So if he's not ready now, it's what's it going to take to get him ready?
Looking, Patrick, we'll touch on Callum McGregor. Just to go into the comments just now, we were on the subject of Motherwell. Anybody going along to the game like myself, Motherwell are doing a very good cause, and they're doing a food bank drive at the game on Saturday. So if you are going along to the game, if you can take anything along with you, a bag of messages, tins, whatever, please do take it along. If you can't do that, I'm sure there'll be collection buckets, and if you could stick something in the buckets. Obviously, we're approaching Christmas at this point in time. There's a lot of families across the country that will be struggling. It's a thing and a cause that is close to a lot of Celtic fans' heart due to the way the club was founded. So if you are going along to the game on Saturday, please help with that initiative. Helen McCallum in the comments is telling us it's 1 each just now between Japan and Australia. Please also keep us up to date with that. Let us know if Kyogo comes on. I know Rogic started for Australia, but if he comes on, please let us know how he's doing, and hopefully if he does come on, he's off and he's in cotton wool and ready for Fir Park on Saturday. But Patrick, back to the game on Saturday that we watched together at Hampden. Callum McGregor, who Lawrence touched on there, playing in that midfield beside Billy Gilmore and John McGinn, didn't look out of place at all. I thought he was excellent on Saturday, Callum McGregor.
No, 100%. And, there's an argument to be made that first half he was the best midfielder. Cause
yeah, 100%.
Some people disagree with me. I didn't think John McGinn had the best game. He scored a really important equaliser, but I thought he misplaced quite a few passes. He lost possession. It was a great team performance, especially second half, but I thought individually McGinn didn't play that well. And then obviously Gilmore had a bit of a nightmare first half along with the rest of the team, but sort of came into it second half. So no, not at all. McGregor definitely, he was a standout, if anything. And he's going to be so important. I think we all had a sort of collective moment of joy when we found out he was playing against Bayer Leverkusen, because we thought without him or Kyogo, we just don't stand a chance in these games. So to have him back and to have him playing week in, week out it's a massive benefit, and it was such a boost to have him sign. I think it was a 5-year deal as well a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a massive piece of business. He is, he's everything good about when Celtic play. I think I've described him on here as the metronome in midfield. Everything kind of goes through Callum McGregor, and everything that we work on, I think he really executes. But to look at the team that played against Aberdeen, Lawrence, the back four that started up at Pittodrie were Ralston, Vickers, Starfelt and Montgomery. In terms of the five that we do expect to come back through this post-international period, we expect Chris Julian, James Forrest, Mikey Johnson, Josip Juranovic and Georgios Giacomakis to come back. Looking at that back four, what changes for you, or does anything change? Do you stick with what you've got there?
I would think Juranovic would come in for Ralston. Ange is maybe likely to play Juranovic instead of Montgomery at left back. I know he's put him in there when he's had both him and Ralston fit, which suggests that maybe he rates him at left back over Montgomery. I don't know how close Scales is and being up to speed tactically to come in for Montgomery. I think Montgomery's looked a wee bit tired. Still looks good going forward, but I think he's looked a bit tired defensively. Julian, it's probably too early to drop him in for starting the game, isn't it? But you'd hope if he can get a lead, 2 or 3 goals, maybe another player that you'd want to see get some minutes in his legs. Because definitely aerially we're still weak, still losing a lot of goals from crosses. He's our tallest defender. He's the most dominant in the air in our box. Normally lays in with a goal or two a season in the opposition's box as well. So he definitely brings something to the team. and it would show up one of your weaknesses. But I don't know if I'd be in favour of starting Julian at the beginning. He's had an awful long layoff, hasn't he? It's, they're talking about he'd literally be back in training. I doubt he'd had any bounce games or anything. So I think he's one that's, if you're 2-3 up, maybe 20 minutes to go, get him on and get some minutes in the legs.
Looking at that, Patrick, as a back four and going forward there, a player I know you're a big advocate of and a fan of is Stephen Welsh. And, there's a lot of chat around Chris Julian just now. I've mentioned the two present and Carter Vickers and Starfelt. Where is Stephen Welsh's position at Celtic now? Because if Julian returns and he is going into that mix, that just looks as if Welsh is now fourth choice centre half then.
That might be the case. I don't know. I still rate Stephen Welsh higher than I rate Carl Starfelt, to be honest. Carl Starfelt, I think he's 26 and he still doesn't look comfortable passing the football. It's beyond me, Maybe that's just the way it looks. Maybe he's totally comfortable passing a ball, but he certainly looks uncomfortable as a 26-year-old professional footballer who costs £5 million. And, he's made a handful of mistakes. He's made a lot less recently, definitely. But I don't think Stephen Welsh is fourth choice. I think all four are tightly grouped. I don't think there's, one standout. You could maybe say Carter Vickers, but, I'm not sure that he's been cast off into the distance. Stephen Welsh, I think he's well within a chance of being back into the team. I'm hoping he won't get back into the team because in order for that to happen, someone's probably going to have to get injured or make a massive mistake. So I'd quite like Starfelt and Vickers to just sort of keep a bunch of clean sheets for the next couple of weeks. That'd be brilliant. But no, I think he'll be back in the team sooner rather than later because he's a good player, and I don't think there's a lot between the four centre-halves that we have at the minute.
Yeah, it's a difficult position, Lawrence, because obviously you want a partnership to be developed in there. I've saw the manager stick with Vickers and Starfelt, but as Patrick said, for the reintroduction of possibly Stephen Welsh or even your beat on it would mean breaking up the partnership. We've got 7 games post this international break with away to Motherwell, home to Ferencváros, home to St Johnstone, away to Hibs, home to Livingston, away to Ferencváros and away to Dundee. How big a confidence boost would it be for you and for ourselves to stick with the same two centre-halves through those games, or do you want to see a bit of rotation in that position?
Listen, if Julian's fit, I think you need to start getting minutes in his legs. I think if he gets back to his best, he's the best at the club. I think at centre-half we struggle. We don't really have a left-sided centre-half. It's probably part of our problem. We've got 4 right-sided centre-halves. So unless Scales, I've heard Scales say he can play left-hand centre-back, but I don't know if he's in the running for that or not. So that's maybe a big part of why they look uncomfortable. We keep playing 2 right-hand-sided centre-backs. One of them's playing out of position. Are they our 2 best? Is that a best partnership? Carter Vickers and Starfelt? I think we've got to try and get Julian in sooner rather than later. We're weak defending crosses. Statistically, he's the best guy defending crosses for us in a box. Yeah, I think we've got to get him playing sooner rather than later. He's just been out for so long, though, hasn't he? It's just, he collided with that post, and the game was over by then. He didn't, he could have let that go in, and it wouldn't have affected the game. It was just, the team seemed to have got a bit of momentum then, and that seemed to knock us back again after his injury. It was just one thing after another last season. So for me, I would rather see Julian in the team sooner rather than later. And it's a question who then partners him on the left-hand side. It looks like Starfelt's the guy we're persevering with there, isn't it? Whether Scales could come in there, Welsh or Carter Vickers, I don't know.
Yeah, it will be interesting to look at this, Patrick, because I imagine when Vickers signed the contract, there'll be a minimum number of games that he probably has to play for Celtic. So Ange Postecoglou will need to balance that. He's then got a £4 million centre-half in Carl Starfelt, who he's brought in. He'll need game time. And then Lawrence has touched on, you've got, your £7 million French defender that, has a good record that we might need to introduce. It's sparking a lot of discussion in the comments. Please continue to comment, folks. They're always welcome. One point Michael's made in the comments here, Patrick, is Welsh as a central defensive midfielder, quick, decent pass of the ball. Could you see that as a potential to give him game time and get him into the squad for some games that you may, need to accommodate something like that? Obviously, we've seen Beaton being used as a centre defensive midfielder and a centre back. Or are you still against playing players out of their natural position, or is it something to look at?
It would certainly surprise me. I wouldn't do it just to get him game time. I think that would have to be a permanent move. I'm not a fan of playing players out of position just to either fill a hole or get them game time. I think you're wasting your time there, in my opinion. If the manager thinks that Stephen Welsh should make a good defensive midfielder, then yeah, I'd be all for it. I think his passing's arguably the best out of the 4 centre halves that we have. It's just his defending that's lacking sometimes. Especially away to Livingston. But it would take me by surprise. I think we've always been going into seasons short at the back with centre halves. I feel as if we always need 2 centre backs every single transfer window. So to convert one of our only 4 into defensive midfielder might not be the best decision squad wise. Also, you're talking there about Carter Vickers possibly having a minimum amount of games. I'm hoping that isn't the case because, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that happens in football, but I don't like the idea of that. I suppose that's probably why we ended up playing Shane Duffy so much last season. We're playing Shane Duffy well into February when we knew in early November that he blatantly wasn't good enough. So I'm not a fan of that with loan contracts, but Carter Vickers is probably our best, if not second best centre back, so it doesn't appear to be a problem just now.
Yeah, Red Scotland's come in and said they've been increasingly impressed with Starfelt, the odd dodgy moment, but his good play outweighs his dodgy moments. We want him to kick on, we want him to be impressive for Celtic because we want a strong Celtic team, we want a Celtic team that can go and challenge and hopefully win this league title. Tom Rogic has just came off there for Australia, but he's played 80 minutes against Japan. It's still 1 each. So Tom Rogic brings us on to the midfield, Lawrence. At Pittodrie, we played Beaton, Turnbull and Callum McGregor in midfield. So stick with that on Saturday. Turnbull going back to his old home ground, and again sticking with the consistency in there. A Beaton as a 6 and McGregor playing.
Depending on who's fit, but if everyone was fit, I would play Beaton, McCarthy, McGregor. I think it's the most experienced 4. Hopefully, kind of when we lose the ball, the dynamism of McGregor and McCarthy, they will track back, they will put tackles in. It's will make us a lot more solid. Beaton, he's just played for Israel again. I'm assuming he'll be playing again
tonight.
Yeah. I thought he had a good first 45. Unlucky at their goal, unlucky to give a free kick away in their box when the ball wasn't in play. But it's just is what it is at times. But that's the midfield 3 I would go for out of there. I think Turnbull's. I don't think what he's doing is meriting his place in the team. Rogic coming off the bench is always a great option to have, but if he's just played 80 minutes and he's got to fly back, it's how fresh is he going to be for us to come on to start at Fir Park? So yeah, if it's up to me, that's kind of the midfield adds that way, beating McGregor, McCarthy.
Patrick, some games last season are a bit hazy, I think, for us all because we want to forget a lot of it. But we went to Fir Park last season and had a very comfortable victory there. Elanusi scored a hat-trick. Forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think Turnbull was part of the setup in terms of playing from the start then. Could this maybe be the game that it turns? He goes back to his old home ground and possibly puts on a show for the Motherwell support, and except this time again in white hoops?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, Elanusi had let Jockstein down 3 days earlier, so he scored a hat-trick to make up for letting down Jockstein in that game, I believe, at Motherwell. No, I don't think Turnbull even got on as a substitute in that particular game. But if it was me personally, if you're going to pick one of Turnbull or Rogic, I'd go for Turnbull personally. He got the assist for Kyogo up at Aberdeen. He'll be fresher than Rogic. Rogic's, you're saying there, has played 80 minutes and needs to do a 12-hour flight, I think. Whereas Turnbull's just sort of sat on the bench for Scotland so far. So in terms of fitness, you're probably better off with Turnbull, in my opinion. you know, how players play against their former teams. I think I'm not sure that comes into it, to be honest. You know, they're professional footballers. I don't think it's been a problem for us in the past, you know. And he's a quality player. I think you could probably look at swapping Turnbull for Rogic maybe at half time or 60 minutes if they're both, you know, they seem to fade in games. They're definitely poorer in the second half. And as Lawrence said, you know, Rogic's great as an option off the bench. So maybe a swap for those two and, you know, doing what Lawrence said, starting McGregor with either Beaton or McCarthy. That could certainly be an option.
Lawrence, that's a good point that Patrick makes there. It's probably something that we've really lacked in recent weeks as a creative midfielder to come off the bench. If that is going to be something that we really look at, it must be a case of what you're saying and not playing Turnbull and Rogic in the same game and be having the ability to bring one of them off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, Rogic, I think, over his time proved he's a great impact player, isn't he, for us? For me, Judy's very much still out in Turnbull. You know, he's done it against kind of bottom six, I would say, and the bigger games, I think he's not yet delivered for us. So, yeah, I've still got kind of some doubts over him. But actually, just thinking when you were away on the Scotland top, remember Harry Hood, or you've probably seen when he dropped back into midfield and played deeper. It was good to see kind of Nicky picking up Harry's Scotland cap belatedly. You know, now they've reclassified international. But listen, for a player like that to create chances from us lying deep, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Somebody did everything. But for me, I wouldn't start either Rogic or Turnbull. Yeah, I just think with Turnbull, I think, you know what, he's had enough chances and people say, oh, just let him play his way through it. It's unfortunately he's not. You know, we've got an experienced midfield trio that I think all of them can put a tackle in, will make us more solid. They're all good passers. You know, if McCarthy, Beaton and McGregor's fit, I think they should start over and above anyone else. Going forward, hopefully at Christmas, we call Scott Robertson. I think that's maybe a mistake was letting him go on loan, because I could see him really slotting in at that defensive midfield role for us.
Yeah, and he's impressed a lot at Crewe from what I've read in Scott Robertson, and he seems to be a player who, you know, we saw in the flashes against Cluj in that away game. It seems 2 years ago now, but I think he's a player that could still kick on for us. Yeah, it's a good mention of that, Harry Hood there. Obviously, Nicky Hood was on the park. He's with the family on Saturday receiving Harry's only Scotland cap, believe it or not, even though I think in the 1974 World Cup, Harry and Dixie Deans both left out the squad, even though they'd scored a complete barrel load of goals for Celtic as they won the double and got to the European Cup semi-final. The strikers that get picked for that squad instead were Kenny Dalglish, Joe Jordan, Dennis Law, Peter Lorimer and Willie Morgan. So they might have missed a trick there with that. I think Harry probably deserved a lot more Scotland caps than they won, like a lot of Celtic players. But you know, the core group of this Celtic Scotland squad just now, Patrick, is made up of either ex-Celts, current Celts, or players that should have been Celts. You know, from watching Scotland, not to dwell on it too much, but is it kind of look at it a wee bit in the sense of what you could have had?
In a sense, yeah. But, you know, I think these are guys that, you know, wanted to move on or we didn't want them. Yeah. You know, Tierney wanted to leave, Armstrong, Christie. We got rid of Robertson because he wasn't tall enough, allegedly. You know, I think we all wanted rid of Hendry in 2019. And, you know, I think Craig Gordon's getting on a bit. So it is a case of what could have been, but, you know, I think one of, if not the best of those group of players is probably Callum McGregor. And I think we're extremely fortunate to have him because, you know, everyone said it, he could slot into any Premier League team, in my opinion. And, you know, Leicester, I think, finished 5th last season and they tried to get him. So that tells you all you need to know, in my opinion. But yeah, as you were saying, you know, unbelievable when you look at back in the day, the so few caps that those players got in that period. You know, these are guys that won 9 titles in a row, and this is a Rangers team that were doing pretty well in Europe as well and challenging us every season. And, you know, Lisbon Lions with like 3 and 4 caps. It's absolutely unbelievable, you know.
Yeah, Lawrence, you'd be well accustomed to a lot of Celtic players not getting the shout in Scotland teams. Growing up, you're probably watching a lot of Celtic players and thinking, how do they not make the squad? What's your perspective on that? And what you watch, in the Scotland team just now, you've got a lot of players we've watched at Celtic Park in our own jersey, guys that have moved on, and then a guy in superstar John McGinn who we missed out on.
Yeah, it's been really frustrating missing out on him, especially when he's down in Birmingham and him and his agent can't get anyone at Celtic Park to answer the phone. Just crazy missing out on him. Listen, it's good to see the boys do well. Armstrong made his bit of money. Tierney's made his phenomenal amount of money. It's part of the model of the club, moving them on, isn't it? And it's good to see that they seem to be able to get international recognition a bit easier. But one of your kind of Colts, what about Rocco Vata? 2 goals, 1 assist, attacking midfielder. Will we call him up at some point this season if he keeps up that kind of form? Son of Rudy. I mean, was it Rudy, yes. Andy Payton, Stuart Slater signed same day?
Yep, Rudy Vata not. And again, we were talking about centre halves earlier on, defenders. Rudy not a bad player for Celtic. A very nice guy. To look up top, we've covered the back four and the midfield. If all fit, is surely Patrick just a case of Jota, Kyogo, and Abada for Park?
Yeah, 100%. As long as they're all fit, no disagreements there. Yeah, I mean, it's a frightening front three. The only worry is that you've not got much behind them. You're sort of hoping that Giakoumakis can sort of get fit and be the backup, the sort of the plan B for Kyogo if it's not working. You've got Forrest and Dembele behind Leila Bada. You've not really got anyone behind Jota. I think Mikey Johnson's injured for the 3rd time this season already. Montgomery, I think we've all spoken about whether he's a left back or a left winger. He's certainly been played at left back so far this season. So you've not really got much cover there. But, if those 3 can stay fit, I think that is your front.
He's popped out, Lawrence. Over to you and those 3. Is that your front 3? There's just, I think Patrick was about to finish one.
Kyogo's definitely nailed down the starting position, hasn't he? Yota's looked good. Abada's been hot and cold. But I think we'd have to start with that front 3. If Forrest is fit, I don't think we're starting from kick-off. I think he's another boy that you'd want to bring on. But he can play left and right. Forrest, in fact, he's played up front as well. He can play all 3 of them. Maybe wouldn't want to be relying on him long term to lead the line, but he's going to be an outstanding option to have back. Forrest and Montgomery on the left. Yeah. Aye. Mikey on the left.
Yep.
He's just been played with injuries at the last couple of seasons. When he first came in, he was scoring a goal every 4 games or something. 2 seasons in a row, wasn't he? Something like 25 games, 6 or 7 goals, and it was the same, the next season. Is he ever going to be fit enough? It's as frustrating as it is for us, it's got to be more frustrating for him, because it'd be great to say make it. Just unfortunately, it has been kind of 2 seasons now. We're going, right, is he going to turn up? And Dembele was, we've been hearing about Dembele forever, and really unlucky with that tackle. Didn't belong in the pre-season friendly, did it? Because he was certainly lighting up the pre-season friendlies, him and Moffat. So I think Patrick's right. That's the 3 you start with, but at least now we should have some options on the bench that are going to push them on.
As Patrick drops out 2-1 to Japan, as 93 minutes in the clock, looks as if Japan might sneak a win.
That was
here.
Patrick jumping up and celebrating and knocking his.
I don't think so, because that might mean Kyogo going to the World Cup, which I don't think any is what we don't want to make any international. So we just want to be caught at Lennoxtown. So don't know where that puts it to Japan in this group. Let me just have a wee look at this. Yeah, they go up to 3rd in the group, 3 points behind Saudi Arabia. They've got a game in hand and 3 points behind Australia, so it's quite tight in that group. But Glasgow's Green and White came in with a really good comment there, Patrick, to say you're like Rogic. You only last 35 minutes and you need a breather. Patrick is our very own Tom Rogic.
In fairness to Tom Rogic, I think he lasts a wee bit longer than 35 minutes.
Because he lasted a lot longer than 35 minutes. He lasted 80 minutes today. Somebody's brought in a really good point in the comments here. They're saying that Kyogo's already played half a season in Japan. Also take the travelling into consideration. We don't want to burn him out. But surely it's the case, Patrick, that he has the impact player in our team. He's important to our system. We'd rather start him than take him off and bring him on into the game.
Well, what we'll just need to do is go 2-0 up for the 60th minute every single game and, just bring him off for the last half an hour and put Giacomakis on, I think against, St Johnstone at home, I think you're probably looking at that and thinking if Giacomakis is fit, you can probably try and start him in that game. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think you can't play Kyogo every single game this season because he will end up being burnt out. But he is so integral to our system, and until we get a bit of consistency going, I think you just need to play your best players, I'm not even sure. Is Giacomakis fit? Is he match fit? Can he start? Can he start on the bench? I don't know.
I hope so. It looks as if Kyogo's came through unscathed by the way, so we fingers crossed we've got a fit player back for us on Saturday.
Good stuff. I know we spent, I think it was $4.5 million on him, but I just don't think Ayeti is. I just don't think he's the man. I don't know where he fits in. I don't know what style of play we have to play in order for him to be our first choice or even second choice striker. It baffles me to this day why we signed him instead of Ivan Toney.
Yes, another one who we missed out on. But Lawrence, in terms of Albi Ayeti, obviously got the nod at Petod to come on instead of Giacomakis, who featured late on against Bayer Leverkusen. Not saw a lot from Giacomakis as of yet. Obviously, we've seen flashes of Albi Ayeti, 2 good goals against Ross County. But if Giacomakis does come good, as we all hope he does, is it a case of time up for Albi Ayeti? Because I just don't see how he recovers in terms of how he gets his Celtic career going, because I don't think it really has properly ever got going. And if a new striker comes in, 2 new strikers come into the club and completely just throw him out the road, then surely that's it for him.
Yeah, I would think the transfer window end of this year, he'd be one that if we bring 2 strikers in, he would be the boy that you'd be looking to move out, wouldn't he? How we get signed instead of Tony? Maybe he's got a better agent, or maybe we liked his agent better. Maybe that's why we signed him. Who knows? But yeah, Giacomakis has obviously been signed, and you'd imagine that Ange has seen something in him that he wants to play. I think, for one reason or another, it's never worked consistently for him. He looks better shape this season than he was last season. He has had a couple of goals, but it just doesn't seem to suit the style of play. I've seen him a couple of games. He started to chase back and close down, but he looks so uncomfortable doing it and doesn't do it consistently throughout the game. So, yeah, I think he's third choice, isn't he? I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. Listen, even maybe, depending on the game, he might be fourth choice if James Forrest is fit. Who would you rather have up front? It's definitely, if we can get 2 strikers in it, I'd move him out come the Christmas transfer window. But, and we really need to play Giacomakis just to see what he's got, because we really don't know. It's one season. He's had one good season. He was top scorer, brilliant. But we want to see.
For a team that didn't do very well either, Lawrence.
Aye, so really unusual that they would score so many goals for them. But he's done it one season, and we just haven't seen anything of him. But we just need to start seeing him and seeing what he's got.
Kyogo was moved into midfield there, Patrick, for Japan. Obviously, with the way we play, we can play that at number 10. It could be a shout to kind of accommodate 2 strikers if we end up doing that. It's not something I think I would like for us to do, but play your 2 wingers and then Giacomakis or Ayeti up top with Kyogo just in behind him as a kind of tuck in that will do the running. But I think he's better up front. But while we're on the topic of strikers, Billy comes in the comments to say it's time for a long overdue statue of the boss James McGrory to give St Roch's a shout out on here. We've got a great connection with St Roch's via Stevie Mullen, and they celebrated their 101st anniversary dinner at the weekend with Chris Sutton going along to Celtic Park. So well done to all involved in that and celebrating a terrific football club and a club close to, I'm sure, every Celtic fan's heart, Lawrence.
Yeah, definitely. James Edward McGrory, anyways, we'll ever see a finer goal scorer, What a record. Small spell out, Clyde Bank, then back, and scoring goals. The human torpedo signed, I think, every one of the Lisbon Lions, bar Willie Wallace. So obviously not a bad eye for a player either. But yeah, statue, perhaps a stand called after him. There's another guy that, although he invented the Hampden Roar, in response to one of his goals, get very few Scotland caps.
Yep.
The guy that was scoring at a rate of better than a goal a game. It's mystifying.
Yep, but James McGilp, certainly a legendary figure around the parts of Parkhead. But again, to everybody involved in that, it's at Rock's well done. But Patrick, looking forward, it's 7 games in between now and the next international break. Scotland will play Moldova and Denmark. In those games, we, as I've touched on, we are away to Motherwell. We've got Ferencváros at home. We've got St Johnstone at home, away to Easter Road to play Hibs, home to Livingston, away to Ferencváros in Hungary, then away to Dundee. What's your expectations from those 7 games? What do you think we can expect from those 7 games?
Did you see we were away to Hibs midweek?
We are away to Easter Road 2 weeks tomorrow, yeah. Midweek.
There's an outside chance we could win all 7. It's certainly possible to win all 7, but Ferencváros away and Hibs away, those are 2 pretty difficult games. I'd certainly expect at least 5 wins, in my opinion. If we don't win at least 5 of those games, I think we're in trouble again, because you need to start picking up 3 points every single weekend at some stage. I'm looking forward to the Ferencváros game. I think they're due some revenge. We obviously had a bit of we didn't have a proper team out, shall we say. We didn't have a proper manager in the dugout either. We didn't set up properly that game. There was no fans in the ground. There might not be many fans in the ground next Tuesday, right enough, because of the kick-off time. But, I'd expect 5 wins out of 7, if not possibly 6 or 7 out of 7, because I think they were winnable games. And not only that, you need to break your duck at Easter Road. I think it's February 2014 the last time we won there. In the league. Yeah. Yep. And then March 2019 in the Cup. And of course, Jack Ross can't win big games, so what an opportunity it is. So, I think they were winnable games, but I'll take 5 out of 7.
Lawrence, what's your expectation from these games, especially that one at Easter Road? I think that's going to be a really important game. And again, we heard Ange talk about the game at the Spaghetti ad, that he didn't want players to buy into that kind of idea that, it's a difficult place to go. It's a place that we've not did well at. We don't want that to be the same thing at Easter Road. We need to just completely get that out of the way and just focus on the game in hand. Yeah,
you don't want that. Your mindset going into the game, this is going to be difficult. We're really going to struggle. It's going to be a negative effect, isn't it? I think, just now with the team sitting, it's very much one game at a time. We've won against Aberdeen. If we can win against Motherwell again, it's going to build the confidence. We're getting players back. The more players we get back, the stronger we're going to be. Get a bit of confidence in the team. No reason why we couldn't win all 7, but it's, I think it's going to depend very much on each game coming and just building a team and building partnerships and getting the best team in the park and getting some confidence in the team. Because at times they have looked, as if they've lacked confidence. If you go to Motherwell and get a second win on the road, when was the last time we won 2 in the road? It's going to be a huge confidence boost, isn't it? Especially, if you get players like McCarthy coming in and maybe John gets 20 minutes and Forrest comes back in at some point. Take a lot of pressure off people in the squad. Then you've got a bit of competition for places. It gives us options, gives Ange options coming off the bench. Forrest, great, goals and assist tally so far. So we've definitely missed him. It'd be great to see him again. But yeah, I think I agree with Patrick. You've got to be winning 5 out of 7. I'd be happy if it was the 5 league games, or 5 Scottish games. I'd gladly forget about Europe and just kind of concentrate and winning the league.
Patrick, there will be that element of revenge, I imagine, for a lot of Celtic fans. Maybe not for the players as much, because it's, the majority of them are new players, new faces into the team. Apart from Callum McGregor, might be the only person that, not even too sure. I think McGregor did play against Ferencváros, but he'll be one of very few that actually played in that game. AGSC Technologies had said that Ferencváros are quite a good side. They should have beaten Leverkusen. It was a joke that Leverkusen won. I think they actually took the lead against Bayer Leverkusen. terms of the barometer, how important do you think that Ferencvaros game is going to be for us? Because it's the team that you look at in the group, and it's the one, we've went to Seville to play Betis and played well part of the game, and we've crumbled. We've created chances against Bayer Leverkusen, but get thumped at Celtic Park. In terms of Ferencvaros, are the team that you'd look at in the group and hope to take points off of to get that conference spot, or possibly play a Champions League team after Christmas. What was your assessment of the games against Ferencvaros?
I think before the group kicked off, you'd aim for either first or third, in my opinion, because if you finish second, you have to play an extra 2 games against a Champions League side. I might be mistaken on that, but I think that's how it works now.
If you finish second, you need to play the Champions League dropout, that's correct.
Yeah, so I think actually finishing third and going into the Conference League might actually work better than finishing second. So before the group started, those are the 2 positions I'd have aimed for. After 2 losses out of 2, you're probably going for third place, really, aren't you? And you're probably looking at 6 points out of 6 from your remaining 2 home games, and maybe a draw away to Ferencvaros or something to get you 7 points, and hopefully that'll get you third. I just think Ferencvaros, they're a team that, if you look at the turnover of both clubs, on that level we should be beating them. If you look at the quality of the 2 leagues, I think on that level we should be beating them. And, when we played them just over a year ago, I thought we had more than enough to beat them. I thought they looked well organised, they looked good in the break. I think they had 2 shots and scored both of them, But apart from that, I think we're the better team, honestly. So I just think we need to win the game.
Yeah, it's certainly at Celtic Park, I think we'll give any team a good game. I thought we did give. I didn't think 4-0 was a fair reflection of scoreline against Leverkusen with a very good side. I didn't actually expect us to take anything for the game, and I thought we did create chances early on that could have changed the game. And had Kyogo been 100% fit, you could see he was just that wee bit off it, and maybe. But again, it was 2 cracking saves. We might have got a result, and again in Betis, I think Ange will learn from that game in terms of taking it. Maybe look at domestic fixtures just that wee bit differently from European fixtures. You can still play the same kind of football, but his personnel might differ a wee bit. I'm getting pulled up for my hyperbole. I crumbled and thumped here. We did crumble in Betis, but it was a good side. But we did crumble and we did get thumped, and I just said it wasn't a fair reflection of the scoreline against Leverkusen. But I certainly think we can get a result against Ferencvaros. I don't think it's out the park, and I don't think it's too much to ask. Lawrence, you've said there's a lot of players coming back, and if we can get it right on the park, there's no reason why we can't have European football after Christmas, which would be a great confidence boost for the players, because one of the big attractions to a lot of guys coming to Celtic is that chance to have the big European night at Celtic Park.
Yeah, no, definitely. Listen, away to Betis, before the game, if you'd told us, it was going to be 4-3, you'd have been like, blooming hell. You know what I mean? It's a better result than I'd expected. 4-3 after being 2-0 up is not so good, but now we've got, we've got options now that maybe we didn't have then. The team's getting stronger. If we can keep everybody injury free, he gives Ange maybe options to close a game down when he's 2-0 up and change your personnel and be a bit tighter. 4-0's 4-0, isn't it? We did miss a few chances, but I think from what's in Leverkusen are the best team in the group. Ferencvaros, they've got that boy that I think he picked him up on a free from Saudi, the boy Larson. Yeah,
Marco Marin.
Yeah, he's won leagues in a few countries. He's won the European trophies as well. Surprised that we didn't. Well, we don't have a head of recruitment. Maybe I picked him up for us, but he's a decent player. But really, for me, I think this season it's the league. If you get European football after Christmas, all well and good. It might be a confidence booster for players. You could also say, listen, it's more games, takes more toll on us, less recovery time between league games. Yeah, for me, it's just about winning the league. But against Ferencvaros, I think we should win at home. If I remember, kind of their second goal, the boy just kind of clears it for the right-hand side of the box, kind of Celtic end, and it just plays up, falls brilliantly for their footballer. Defender should have cleared it. The forward puts it away. It was only their second shot that game, wasn't it? And that was them, but it was nothing more than a hoof up the path. It's really landed really well for the striker. Well, and so much as that our defender could have done something he didn't, and the striker's just on it. Yeah, I'd expect to beat them at home. Away, I'm not too sure. I think they are a decent team, but the best teams, I think Leverkusen 4-3 away from home against Betis. On the face of it, you would suggest that we were competitive in that game. A 2-0 lead. It's with more of a squad back and more of a first team playing. Hopefully, we can get a better result against Betis when it comes around.
Yeah, it's a game. I think depending again on the timing of the group, it's obviously going to be the last game in the group come December time. I don't know where Betis will be sitting in the group at that point. I don't know where ourselves will be sitting at that point. It might be a game of rotation for one of them. We obviously rotated last season in our last game. The group had gone a couple of games into it, frankly, after the thumpings against Sparta Prague. And we changed the side, and we obviously get a great result against Lille, the French champions. So again, could be about timing when it comes out to that Betis game, depending on whether they've qualified or not. But Patrick Lawrence has said the focus should be in the league. We're away to Fir Park, we're away to Easter Road, we're away to Dens. Not easy venues to go to, but ones that if we are serious about challenging or winning this league title, we're going to need to win at all three of these venues.
I'm not sure you could describe any away venue as an easy win, And if you were to start with easy venues, I think you're probably starting at places like Dens Park. Of the 11 away grounds, it's probably one of the easier ones. Because we've not got any sort of unlucky run recently. They've not been in the league. They're a newly promoted side. Games up there are never spectacular, but we tend to get the results, and I'm hoping that's what we can do again, because you just need to win these games. Other teams do it. All the big teams in Europe, Juventus, Bayern Munich, all these teams win these types of games. It's not always pretty, but we've done it in the past under Rodgers, Dyler. You just need to win the game, don't you? Even if it is like Aberdeen. Even if, we go through the next, 14 away games and we win 2-1 or 1-0 in the last 5 minutes, I'll take that all day long, as long as we're winning 5 and 6-0 at home every weekend.
Yeah, I think we'll all take that if we can do that. Lawrence, we went to Petodi, we've got the monkey off our back in terms of getting that first away win since Valentine's Day against St Johnstone in February, won at Petodi there a couple of weeks back. If we don't go to Fir Park and get a victory, will there be a concern again about away form? If it's a case, I think, that we need to go to Fir Park and get another win under our belts away from home, and there will be that creeping anxiety will come in from a lot of Celtic fans that we've got a problem in the road.
Listen, I think it'll be a concern about form in general. The first 2 games at home, brilliant. Third game, Carter Vickers, it's a lucky deflection, and then it kicks us on to a 3-0 win. We need to start stringing results together, and it can't go on stop-start and, draws here, then losing here. And if we don't get a result, yet again, Petodi was a must-win game, and I think that's what we're looking at Fir Park. Dens Park, I'm just hoping there's no riots anymore. They get a win up there, and the boys can... other press can avoid reporting riots. But yeah, I think we're in must-win territory again. We're 6 points off the pace. We need to put a run of results together. We need to start getting our best team in the park and maybe getting them settled and see some partnerships and some joy coming. We're mid-October. Our second choice striker's not been fit to play. It's not a good kind of place. He's one of our... We would decide to spend some money, arrives unfit, and he's been injured. It's concerning, and I think between now and Christmas, it's just been about staying in touch with the top, putting a run of form together, and getting players back up to speed, and then after Christmas, kicking on.
That run of form is going to be really important, Patrick. Are you the same camp that we need to kind of get that state run right under our belt away at Fir Park, so that there's not that idea of do have this problem in the road, and we can just kind of, Lawrence says, kick on from there?
Yeah, because I think the next away game after that is Hibs, and if you don't win at Motherwell, you're probably looking for a win at Hibs, and it's a tougher place to go. I still think we should win, but it's a tougher place to go, and I just think there's no point winning at Aberdeen if you then go another 2 games without a win away from home, because then the monkey's starting to climb back on your back. You just need to kill it stone dead, win 2 games in a row, win a couple of home games, and then go into Hibs and, just see how you're feeling and do the best you can. So yeah, I think it's, if we want to kick on and start winning a bunch of games, picking up loads of points, we probably need to beat Motherwell, in my opinion.
Yeah, and somebody will need to sort out Gordon Stackton a half and half scarf for that game up at Dens, because I think he might still be in his Celtic role then, but still working for Dundee. So if anybody's got a half and half for wee Gordon, I'm sure he'd be much appreciative of it. Lawrence, we've touched on the away games there. We've got St Johnstone and Livingston at Celtic Park. We looked very good at Celtic Park. The games that Patrick's touched on against St Mirren, Dundee, Ross County. Then we had that draw against Dundee United. In terms of those 2 games, personally, I wouldn't say I'm too concerned about them, but St Johnstone, again, have started the season really well. And Livingston, after their win against us, haven't kicked on at all. So, full 6 points from those 2 games you'd expect at Celtic Park.
Listen, you'd be hoping for it, but St Johnstone's a decent team. The most successful team in Scotland last season, picking up 2 of the 3 trophies. They're going to give us a tough game. And if we haven't beat Motherwell, if we haven't started to get on our form, the doubts are going in about players. So, unfortunately, it's October and every game's a must-win game now. I think we need to get kind of 4 or 5 wins in a row and get the players' spirits up, and see that things are starting to work, starting to gel. So, yeah, I don't think we'll drop points against Livingston, but St Johnstone, they're a decent team. We should win, but we'll need to be on the game to win.
It's going to be a focus on ourselves, getting that run of victories together and hopefully keeping everybody fit. Patrick, we're nearly nearing the end here. To kind of close on this, if we've got that full complement there available to select from, what is your strongest 11 going forward here for the Celtic side?
For the upcoming run of fixtures, or
yes,
for the full season?
You've got the full selection of players. Full selection of players for the next 7 games. What is your strongest team to go forward with?
Every single player, even Julian.
Taylor.
Even Julian, and we could even include. Well, I don't know if Taylor will make it, but we'll include Greg. We'll be kind to him. I think he will be out for a wee bit longer, but we'll say not just for the next 7 games, for the rest of the season. What do you think at this point in time with what you've got to work with?
Yeah, up until January, certainly at least, I'd go for Joe Hart, Jovanovic at right back. Oh, you're testing me. I think, you would have to go with Julian and Carter Vickers at the back. I think, as much as I want to put Stephen Welsh in there, I think Carter Vickers has been better so far on form. I would play Montgomery at left back. Midfield, it presents a bit of a problem. If McCarthy can get fit, I would go for McCarthy, McGregor, and probably Turnbull. And then Jota, Kyogo and Abada. I think if they're all fit and they're all on form, that's probably our best team, in my opinion.
No Forest then for you?
Abada's done better this season, so I have to stick with him.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. Lawrence, any changes from that?
Yeah, well Joe Hart is obviously stick on, isn't he? Head and shoulders above the other keepers. Right back, Juranovic. Right centre half, Julian. Problem at left centre half, I don't know if Carter Vickers can play there, but we seem to be trying to make Starfelt a left centre half. I'm not too sure how good Scales is, so probably stick with Starfelt there. Left back, if Greg was fit, he's the best left back at the club. I'd play him, but he's going to be out for still another couple of months or 6 weeks.
I think he's still another couple of months. My pal seen him at the Leverkusen game going at the stadium, and he still had the big cast in his arm, so I don't think he'll be back anytime soon, Greg.
Yeah. 6 to 8 weeks in. Yeah, so if not, I think it's going to have to be Montgomery there. Midfield, if they're fit, beating McCarthy and McGregor. No shock there, it was McGregor. Maybe I said McGregor, McCarthy, and I don't know. Up front, Kyogo. On the right, Jamesy Forrest. If he's fit and on form, with the record he's got with Celtic, for me, he would have to start. And Jota, I think he's done enough to nail down the left. Not that there's a lot of competition over on the left, unfortunately. But yeah, from what we've got at the club, that's who it'd be for me.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what he goes with. There'll hopefully be rotation because we'll hopefully have that full complement. to pick from. We will be playing, midweek weekend. Tough run of fixtures, but it's a run of fixtures we hope we get the full complement of points from. And but we're sitting at the next international break talking about a really good run of forms, no injury problems, and then that kick on till Christmas before we go and raid the Japanese market. From everything that we've read so far, but again, Liam Scales, I think it's going to be a player that possibly we might see. We don't know, but I think he's a player that may feature just that wee bit on this run of form. But we'll just wait and see. And hopefully, as you say, Lawrence, guys like McCaffrey really do come up to speed. And we touched on Shaky Makis earlier on. He come into the side and do a job for us. To everybody that's commented today, thanks for your comments. They're always very welcome. We'll be here all week, the run up to this game against Motherwell. Hopefully, Scotland get a victory again tonight. The Faroe Islands be cheering on from home here. And if you haven't already done so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, there's great prizes to be given away. I think it's still the Bobby Lennox signed print that's up for grabs this month. It's framed. So please subscribe to the channel. And thank you for watching A Celtic State of Mind. And to Lawrence and Patrick. Lawrence, you're going to finish with something?
Yeah, and next Tuesday, hopefully, A Celtic State of Mind will have been back from London with 3 trophies from the podcast awards. And also, thanks everybody that voted for us. Hopefully, it's enough to, if not do another treble, at least bring 1 trophy home.
Or even a double. Meet in the middle there, Lawrence. Good luck to you on your way down there. I hope you have a good trip. And thanks to everybody for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind. Cheers.